if you can position yourself as who they're connecting with, like not the brand, but not Seven Sons, but Blaine at Seven Sons. So they want to connect and get to know you. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. The brand is less likely to be the hero or somebody that you're going to be loyal to, but a person you can. So trying to really position yourself as somebody that you want to develop a relationship, a friendship, I guess, so to speak, so when they see, oh, I got an email from Blaine, like that's what it should be.
That's how we want it. You didn't get an email from Seven Sons. You're getting an email from Blaine today, or whichever brother is writing the email that week. So that's what we want it to feel like. And that difference is your copy.
You're listening to Gray's Cast, a show that shares the secrets to selling perishable food products online. The show and advice is brought to you by the team at Seven Sons, which is an 8-figure e-commerce business that started completely from scratch. Each episode, we bring you one topic, 3 strategies, and one tangible resource to continue your learning and put you on the fast track in your own e-commerce journey. Let's begin.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of Gray's Cast. My name is Brooks Hitsfield, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about the top 3 tips for writing better email copy. So this is going to be a fun one, and be sure to stay to the end because we're going to have some further resources for you to dig deeper into this topic and others. So as always, I have my brother Blaine, CEO of our team here at Seven Sons, joining me again. Blaine, from a scale of 1 to 10, how important is email copy, writing email copy, a skill to have for your business?
Well, given the fact for us that email relates to our number one way that we create sales at our business, it's very important. So, and we have learned so much, and we've learned a lot from our guest, Chad, because we have drastically changed how we write emails really since we met Chad and started diving into this topic. And this is going to be what I like about an episode like this. Chad's going to bring us copywriting tips, and this is going to be practical things you can start applying right now in the next email that you write. So,
yeah. And Chad is well qualified to be adding value to this topic. Chad, we're excited to have you on again. So
glad to be back. And this is something that, like Blaine said, why I'm really excited about this is that this is something that you can start with the next email you send.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So if you're listening, you may remember would have been released a while ago, but Chad has been on the show with us before. And on that episode, we gave further context. Chad shared kind of his background from, where he's been, what he does now today. But Chad, maybe for anyone who hasn't listened to that episode, if you haven't, you should go listen because we talked about a lot of helpful tips around growing your email list, which is something that if you're trying to grow an online business is somewhere you're going to want to focus. But for Chad, anyone who hasn't listened to that, could maybe you, for this episode, talk a little bit more about how do you come alongside businesses that you partner with today, and where do you really focus as an online marketer to add value?
Yeah. So where I start is with really your current customer base and trying to maximize the relationship with your current customers, and then also to develop pathways so when you do bring in new customers, they have the similar experience. So setting up the automation around both of those, and then really teaching how to best communicate, how to segment and treat your audience different. If you have different ways you serve people, you should probably be talking to them a little bit different. There are tools that are out there to be able to do that. So that's really where I focus a lot on loyalty and retention. Because I know that a lot of people that I've worked with, they do care that their customers care about their brand. We all want to create a business that people are excited to talk about. So that's what I try to help people do.
Yep. And we have, as I mentioned in our last episode, we saw an immediate large increase in our sales just the first year implementing the strategies and tactics that Chad has mastered. So,
and Chad, I know you focus a lot on email, so it's easy, for us to see why you're a great candidate to come in on this topic to talk more about some helpful tips on improving that skill of writing email copy, which is a skill that gets improved over time. But say, Chad, maybe this is a good way to start context into this topic. Say that I'm someone who's, I have a farm, I want to grow my business though online. I know that's a strategy that, I should be pursuing. And I know also the importance of connecting with my customers and building relationships. I've seen that work well at farmers markets. I'm good at doing that face to face. But when it comes to the whole online marketing thing, it's a challenge for me. And I don't really know where to start. So I know you've made some notes on some top 3 tips. Where would I want to begin when it comes to improving email copy?
So I would say one of the biggest things to consider is that your customers, I think they really want, if you can position yourself as who they're connecting with, like not the brand, but not Seven Sons, but Blaine at Seven Sons. So they want to connect and get to know you. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So it's not like, man, I'm so excited to go to Best Buy today and shop. I mean, I do shop there, but I don't get like, I kind of like electronics, but I mean, bottom line, the brand is less likely to be the hero or somebody that you're going to be loyal to, but a person you can. So trying to really position yourself as somebody that you want to develop a relationship, a friendship, I guess, so to speak, so when they see, oh, I got an email from Blaine. Like that's what it should be.
That's how we want it. You didn't get an email from Seven Sons. You're getting an email from Blaine today, or whichever brother is writing the email that week. So that's what we want it to feel like. And that difference is your copy, how you present yourself, and then how your copy follows up with that when someone opens that email. And again, that difference of feel like they're getting an email directly from the owner or one of the people that work in the business, and that the copy follows through on that feeling. That's the difference of a lot of open rates, whether people open your email continually or not. And that will be the difference of driving sales.
And would you guys say that, as far as personalizing your emails coming from a person, is that something that every business, if I'm listening to this, should go about it that way? And is a strategy that can help them improve their email marketing, or is there any exceptions to that rule?
I mean, I would say rarely would there be an exception. I can't think of one.
Yeah, there are 90+% of the emails that we send that are automated, or the broadcasts, the emails that go out, they are from a person. There are some like transactional related items, like your shipping confirmation or your receipt. Those I think it's fair that they come from the brand. Pardon me, but the majority of them from a person.
Yeah, because people know it's a transactional email. This is my order confirmation.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah, exactly. You need to follow through on that.
Awesome. So personalizing the emails, and what are some, just to clarify, there are tools I can obviously do this in. If I'm using a listener, maybe using MailChimp for email marketing, a drip or something like that. This is not something where you have to,
come directly from your inbox.
Yeah, blind carbon copy in order to send directly from you. No, there are tools to where you can do this. It's just a messaging change in the email.
Correct.
Well, I mean, when you set up an email in Drip or MailChimp, you can put in what's the from email address and the from name. So just instead of saying from Seven Sons Farms, you say from Blaine at Seven Sons.
So if I'm listening, though, one, just plain devil's advocate for sake of conversation, one objection I might have is if maybe I'm selling online, my business has scaled a little bit, and I have a team or maybe someone else helping me out with customer service and support. And if I'm sending all my emails from maybe myself as kind of the face of my brand, but I know that people reply to those emails asking questions quite often. Does that mean I need to be the one replying to those emails, or how do I handle that if someone else is in that seat?
Yeah, well, Brooks, you may be the best in the best position to answer that. I do know that because a lot of the emails that we send out, especially on Sunday, are from Blaine, and I do know that sometimes people respond just with generic questions, and that way Corey or Lindsay or Haley, who works in the office and is handling customer support, they can say, "Hey, it's Haley. I want to get back to you on this." They just say who it is. Now, if someone says, "Blaine, really liked this newsletter. Here, I have a couple of questions." Many times, Haley or one of the gals in the office there will forward the email to me, and either I can tell them what to respond with, or I respond personally. And it's really not that many, so it's probably something that maybe you would, it's a fear that really isn't that big of a deal.
Well, and Chad, maybe you can speak to this, but you could play around with it as well. Maybe there's certain types of emails that come from a different type of person, and maybe sometimes you combine that with who's the most likely person to be replying to this? I know there's several use cases that.
And we do that with some of our automation is we have a, hey, I'm just checking in type of email, and it comes from Haley, and it's got her picture, and like the customer success team is happy to help. So we do kind of mix it up, and you make a good point. Like if there are specific types of emails that almost always are going to be coming from a success customer service type personnel, then it can come from them. Like
An abandoned cart email doesn't come from Blaine. It comes from someone who most likely will be responding.
Bottom line, the big win is to get away from the corporate emails and start
lose the corporate voice.
Yep.
Exactly.
Start communicating like it's one-on-one, because that's what's actually happened. Someone's getting an email in their inbox.
Yeah, you
from
think
somebody.
that you're blasting your email list, and you're talking to an audience. You're communicating with one person at a time that will be holding their phone up, reading your email. They'll have their computer up, just them, reading your email. You want it to feel personal, like a conversation.
All right, so personalizing the emails, that's number one. What do we have for number two?
Well, and actually, I would say if I can piggyback a little bit more on Blaine, so and actually I could go on for a long time about this aspect, but Blaine makes a great point. When you have to, one of the things that when you sit down, you're like, I got to write an email to my list. Like, it's not very inspiring. It's hard to write. But if I'm sitting there, you have to know. Actually, I've written down, my number one was know who you are writing to. Yeah. Like, so when I sit down, then I'm thinking, what would Sally, mom of three from Indianapolis, like, what is she? How can I write to communicate to her? So one of the things that I do when I'm writing emails is I say, what can I make them feel? What can I have them picture? So some of the things that I think you can do is, and I also start most emails, and I recommend that people start with a, hey, it's Brooks, or hey, it's Blaine again. I kind of mix it up a little bit, or I'll say, hey, good morning from the farm, or hey, it's a beautiful day in Roanoke. Which actually, if I'm writing some emails for Seven Sons, sometimes I actually I have 4 cities on my weather app on my phone. It's where I live, where I'm going to be vacation next, St. Louis, which I visit a lot, and Roanoke, Indiana. Yeah. So I can look and see when this email is going out. Is it a sunny day? I want to say that. Is it cold? I want to say that. I want them to experience and feel and picture whoever the email is coming from, like sitting there writing that email, like they're connecting with them. So, so knowing your audience is huge. And honestly, there are times when I'm writing and I think a lot about feelings, because again, in telling stories, because facts tell, but stories sell. Yeah. And the more that you can write in story and be thinking, like I find sometimes I'm writing emails and I'm like smiling when I'm writing it, because I'm thinking like
that's a good sign.
And sometimes I'm like I'll laugh a little bit as I'm writing something, or I put an occasional emoji in there. Yep. So I think that just knowing, like actually emotionally connecting with the email. And that sounds really weird, but
I mean, when I write emails, I picture a customer that I know, and they have their computer open and they're reading that email, right? That's what I picture in my mind. They're that person. I know their name. A lot of times we know their family, and that's the person I want to picture. They are representative of the rest of the customers, so I'm writing to that person.
They are, I mean, as specific as that, plus they are sitting on their couch in front of the fire. Yeah. Like that is what they are doing. So if you can know your audience, it will be a lot more exciting to sit down and write to that person versus, dang, I have to write an email to my list.
What I love, you'll know when you're doing this right, because one thing we noticed, Chad, as you taught us these principles, what we started noticing is when we bumped into customers at the store for the first time, but they had received emails from us, they would commonly say, I feel like I know you. I've never met, but
that's
honestly, I feel like, and that's the test.
Yep.
And when you start hearing that, you know you're on the right track.
Yeah, so that is for me, far and away, a number one is your voice. And communicate like you're talking to a friend. Yeah. That's a huge one. If you just do that one, just stop listening. Don't stop listening. We got more heat to bring.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome, Jed. Awesome.
Okay, so what do we have for number 2?
All right. So with that long piggyback, number 2, and this is kind of copywriting, make it consumable. Meaning, I always, when I opt, sometimes I will opt into people's email lists because I want to see how they write and, get some ideas, or how did I interpret it? And one of my biggest pet peeves is getting large paragraphs of text, because in today's world of 100 60-word tweets and Facebook statuses and Instagram posts and just communicating in pictures, I am not going to read a paragraph that's more than 2 sentences. I flat out won't. So make it consumable. You should have a fair amount of white space in your emails so that I can scan it, because that's what people will do. They will scan. So make it consumable. Have white space. Have an image if you can. Not always, but oftentimes you want an image, because again, if you are telling a story, if you've done a good job of communicating like their friend and have a visual picture to help supplement what you're saying, it will only add to the depth of the story and the connection. So that's a big one. It's make it consumable for me means have white space, meaning don't write in big 2 or 3 big paragraphs.
Break it up. Yep.
I mean, 1 and 2 sentence paragraphs, line one. That's how the whole thing should be. Have a picture. Have a different way. If you have a call to action in your email, have one button.
Yeah.
One button. At least in the main part of the email, and have a couple different, have a link, have a button. So those are different things. I mean, if I have 7 or 8 links, then it's too many decisions for me to make. Make it very easy. So one of the things that we do, and I think this is another one I may be coming to in a bit, is that we have one main focus topic for the main portion of a newsletter.
Yes.
And every link in that section is to the exact same spot. So you're going to have people reading your emails that are button clickers. You're going to have link clickers. You're going to have image clickers, and you're going to have PS area clickers. But they all go to the same spot. You got to treat them differently. So making your emails consumable.
I'm glad you brought this one up, because I think we've talked about this on the previous episodes, that that's a principle for all of your marketing.
Absolutely.
Right. When it comes to your website, a lot of times we'll tell people, when you're designing that website, pretend when you're focusing on creating your homepage and that first section people see before they scroll, pretend that that's a billboard, and I'm going down as a customer or visitor, going down the highway, and I only have 5 seconds to look at that billboard. What do you want them to remember, and what do you want them to see? So very important in our advertising saturated world that we live in. People just don't have the attention spans that they used to. So
Yep, and keep it on one topic if you can. I mean, we used to, years ago, we'd send out emails that say, here's the weekly farm update, and you'd hit on 5, 6, 7 different topics. That's one way to go about it, and we do that sometimes, but we really try, if we can, to keep it one topic. Even if it's shorter in length, that's okay.
Yeah. So, I think just for some clarification there are, I think, usually 4 to 5 sections in our newsletter, but it's very easy to differentiate the sections, and we are consistent. The teaching point or the main topic is always the very first thing at the top, and then Blaine's signature or somebody's signature and their picture concludes that. Then there's a line break, and then there's the next section, and then there's a line break, and then there's the next section. So if I'm opening the email, the most high value teaching point or topic that I want them to know for that week, there's one thing I want you to know about our farm that week, or that I want to teach you, it's at the top, and that's it. And then, salutation or sign off or whatever, and then the signature, and then a line. And then it's the rest of the things. It's all important, but you need to position it so it's consumable at the top. If it's a launch, that is, if you're promoting a new product or you have a new video, that if the one action my customers can take this week is to watch this thing, then make it a standout part of your newsletter. As far a couple more points, I just in looking down at my notes that I want to make sure to throw in for being consumable is also utilize bold, italicize, underline, but not a ton, but just again the key points. And then it shouldn't be a 2,000 word email all the time. Another one of my favorite quotes is Copywriting Quotes. The first one was facts tell, stories sell. The next one is the best communicators make the fewest words go the farthest. Yeah. So just try to, again, don't, you want to be deep. You want to get as deep as you can, but don't think you have to have an epic long, like a blog post type long email. So and if you get to the point.
And if you can, if you have a team or someone there that you can, if it's a husband and wife team, bounce it off your spouse and say, hey, can you usually it's easier for someone else to look at the email and say, this whole sentence can probably just get
Or
changed.
you duplicated yourself. You know,
Yes.
it's harder to see that when you're writing versus when someone else goes to read it.
Exactly. Yep. Cool.
All right, so does that finish us out for number 2? Are we going to number 3
That's
now?
it. There's no piggybacking on
All
number
right.
2. I think we were fairly detailed there.
Chad is a details guy. Remember, he was a doctor of pharmacy. He
Yep.
gets the details.
Yep. All right, so moving to number 3, what do we got?
Number 3 is have a process or work ahead. And do so at a time when you can bring some really good energy, especially if writing emails is hard for you to start, which it may be. If you're not doing it consistently and you're like dreading it, which we've all been through. As a copywriter, I still go through that sometimes. I'll write it'll be like 2 hours and I'm like, which is not common, but there are days where I'm just like, I'm struggling.
Yep.
But it's really, you can really get away from a lot of that if you send your newsletter on Sunday and you have it done by like Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. That's a good time frame. Doing it on Sunday morning is a bad idea, especially all the time. Now, sometimes there's been times where it's like a busy week or we just can't connect and or whatnot, and it winds up being a little bit later in the week. But have a process. It will help you stick to it. You'll be more likely to put it off and just not send it and hit send if you wait too long. So have a process. Have it if you're a morning person. Do it when you bring your best energy. If you're not and it's 10 o'clock and you're like, man, I got to go now try to connect with Sally in Indianapolis and I'm tired. So have a process that you can commit to. So that is a copywriting tip. I mean, we've talked about some other things, but that is one that definitely matters.
Yeah, if you want to shut down your creativity, make a late Saturday night. I've got to get this email out.
Yeah.
And what the heck do I write about? That I've been there way too many times.
I'm going to say I love it because everyone ends up there. If you start doing this, you start trying to market online, you dive into email marketing, you're going to find yourself in those positions. It's a common challenge everyone faces, and it's going to be harder for some people than others. If you think back and remember in high school, were you that person who was always cramming before the test? Well, this is probably something that will show up for you more often, but that's okay. You just got to recognize it. Like Chad said, build a system around it.
And work ahead. Get some content pieces that could be applied to different weeks. It's not necessarily time sensitive, but maybe it's a recipe that you created or a video that you created, and work ahead. If you had 3 or 4 weeks of content ahead of time, that takes the pressure off, because there's weeks where you're busy, or you want to go on vacation, you don't want to worry about email, just schedule it.
That's a great point. And so step 1 of working ahead is having a process where you write it by a certain day each week. The second part of that is going a step further back and say, oh wait, okay, it's the end of September, the beginning of October, whatever. I'm going to identify, I have 4 Sundays for the most part to write a newsletter, or 4, whatever your newsletter day is, okay? I have 4 of those for the month. So I want to put some strategy behind in advance upon what those items are going to be. So you're not sitting down if it's your Wednesday to write your email, and you're like, okay, what am I going to write about? Ideally, and because there could be some preparation you have to do with creating or a short little video or taking a few pictures, so that when you sit down to write, that's what you're doing. So have it be where maybe you have a calendar reminder for the first of the month. Say, okay, what's my promotional calendar look like? What seasonally can I draw on to be able to write these next 4 Sunday newsletters? So that way you have a plan, you sit down, you execute.
Yep, you can kind of theme it. And by the time you start writing emails, the next one gets generally easier and easier, because you're now building off of what you've already written about before. So. Yep.
Yeah, no, really important too, because you got to think about it. You're going to have seasons, especially for those of you who are farming and producing, you're going to have seasons where you're much busier than others. So being able to batch and work ahead helps to make sure that you don't fall behind. So great. Any other points you want to add to number 3?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that there's actually a lot more that we can share, but these are. But there's still a lot of very actionable things that you can do today, just to be able to draw on some of these things. And as far as, there's some other resources I can share and go into more detail. Having a proof process. What's your proof process? What's your editing? How, what's that look like? just more details around the white space and how to effectively use that throughout a whole newsletter. So those are resources that we can point people
Even
to.
things like text size. I mean, that starts to matter. And subjects, email subjects, that will determine a lot of the open and click rates. So,
Yep.
So, Chad, I know you have resources on some of this stuff. So, if I want to dive deeper, I want to learn more. Where do I go to find more information that you've created on this?
Yeah. Well, being the wrong Gray's Cast, and I, have a special place in my heart for Gray's Cart and Gray's Cart users. So if you go to my website, which is chadgraue.com, so CHADGRAUE.com/Grays, there will be many different assets, resources you can plug into there related to marketing your business, specifically about email, because this is like my sweet spot, home run place that I just love to talk about and to dive into with others. So.
Awesome. Thanks for adding so much value here. And I just want to remind people that, a lot of folks will, especially other farms that follow Seven Sons, will ask, how are you doing your marketing? And I just want to reemphasize here, when you look at Google Analytics and you look at where our visitors come from and what converts into dollars, it always, the number one referral is from one of the emails that we send out. So this is our number one way that we create sales, is writing emails.
And if we've talked about this before, maybe on a previous podcast even, I can't recall, but the Google Analytics, like site traffic and or revenue, there's a line on there that's like a pulse. Like you get like an EKG, and every Sunday the spike is from our newsletter. Yep. And guess what happens? When are people more likely to make purchases on your site? When they hit their site or when they're not on your site? So clearly when they hit the site. So anytime that there's traffic on your site, you have a better likelihood of teaching somebody something, having them re-engage with your business, staying engaged with your business. So, but yeah, email is always the top.
Yep.
And these are tangible tactics that you can take with you, and you focus on developing the skill of writing email copy, which is just communication at the end of the day. But that's a skill that you can take with you throughout your life, whatever business that you're involved in. So great tactics, Chad. Thanks for sharing with us, and we'll have to have you back.
Awesome. I'm down.
Thanks.